Today's episode of Artificially Intimidating is a conversation with Bruno Perez, co-founder of Manifest.build, an open source LLM router that sits between your AI agents and the models they call. We recorded this back in late June when Manifest was still completely free, and a lot of our discussion focused on their smart routing idea. That means automatically classifying each request and picking the cheapest appropriate model on the fly. Since then, Manifest has tightened both the business model and the product surface, and I want to flag those changes up front so you're listening with the right context. They've since launched paid plans, perhaps because of my chiding. No, I'm just kidding. But I did push Bruno to start charging because I think that their product is awesome. There is still a free tier, but there's now also a pro plan at $19 a month, and in my opinion, completely worth it. They are deprecating their old rule-based complexity routing, which was what initially attracted me to their product, and it's a lot of what we had talked about in the episode. The current product is less about being a magical autopilot that always chooses the perfect model, and more about being a solid, predictable router that connects the subscriptions that you already have and the API keys that you already pay for, with fallbacks and spend limits that you can actually control. From my perspective, as someone who lives with agents all day, that's still a huge amount of practical value. At our companies, we use Manifest because it actually lets us stack multiple AI subscriptions behind tools like Hermes, Paperclip, Cursor. So when Claude Max hits a rate limit or ChatGPT goes down like they did this past weekend, our workflows just quietly fall back to other models. Most of the time, nobody on our team even noticed anything happens. The agents keep on working, the events keep on running, and we're not scrambling to swamp providers by hand in 6 different dashboards. There's one more update that's going to happen just about any second. Manifest is also launching something that they call Autofix. Bruno mentions it briefly in the episode, but it has yet to come out, and it's really any day now. So if you've ever manually wired an agent into a real system, you know that most of the failures are these weird, boring integration issues, a model ID that changed, a parameter mismatch between SDKs, a sudden rate limit, right? Perhaps a context window error that turned into a 500. Autofix is designed as a self-healing layer for those class problems. So instead of your agent crashing and showing a raw error to the user, Manifest is going to catch it, fix the failed call, figure out why it broke, apply a small patch, maybe even swapping to a compatible model or adjusting parameters, redirecting to a backup provider. And then it's going to replay the request so the agent still gets a usable answer. Their goal is simple. It's to let you spend more time designing what your agent should do and less time chasing down the fragile plumbing between the connections every time a provider changes a little something. So as you listen, keep all of these notes in mind. Some of the specific things we talk about may be outdated or have evolved, but the underlying questions are still the same. How do you think about cost across models? How do you keep agents reliable when the provider landscape is moving under your feet? And how do you use the tools like Manifest to turn your pile of subscriptions into something coherent? With that context, here's our conversation with Bruno Perez from Manifest.
Artificiallyintimidating.com.
Hey everyone, Nicholas from Artificially Intimidating here. I'm really excited to be joined by Bruno from Manifest.build. Before we take it away, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know who you are and why you think you're here today.
I'm Bruno. Yes, thank you, Nicholas. My name is Bruno. I'm the founder and CEO of Manifest, and we're here today to talk about AI, I guess.
Yeah, very much. So at Artificially Intimidating, we try and really talk about the use of AI as a tool, a creative tool to add to your war chest rather than something that's being like pushed upon you for productivity, which is sort of the message, at least in the US, that's been really ground into the culture. And also, especially with a tool like yours, very high concept stuff that you're doing, but we try and keep it at a lower level conversation. So are you located in the US or where are you?
In France right now. Yeah, Great. But I was in San Francisco for the past 6 months.
Gotcha. And were you in San Francisco just for the past 6 months or had you spent time there prior to that?
No, just for 6 months. We're part of the University of Berkeley Skydeck Accelerator with our projects. So we went.
Very cool.
Yeah. We had a great time there.
Great. And I know from talking to your co-founder a few weeks ago, this isn't where the project started, is it?
No, actually, we started with a different project, and It's fun because it's actually related to AI too. It was a developer tool, something to help developers to build software, especially on the backend side. And in November, I think, November is when Anthropic launched Claude Code, which was a tool that really hit a lot because it was able to create amazing stuff for developers. And our former tool was not, the trade-off was not good enough for that. So we decided to change and to go with the flow and to do something with AI. And especially we started by helping people paying less AI, reducing costs and making things easy for everyone.
Cool. And so I definitely want to circle back to that. But before we get there, I'm assuming there's a lot in your life you've done between the time you were born and making that pivot. So tell us a little bit about your history, where you were born, where you grew up, and how you ended up in California working on this project. What are the things that interested you as a kid that got you there as an adult?
So I was born in the French Alps in Grenoble in France. And I actually didn't study. So I learned by myself, same with my founder. We learned to code. We started to do websites at the age of 20 something, doing WordPress website for small business. And at some point we decided to do a business out of that, right? To be able to get money and to do that for a living. And it worked for 15 years. Yeah. So for 15 years, we started as a very humble agency, and we ended up working especially in internal tools, digitalization, software for top companies here in France and in Europe in general. So the fun thing is that neither of us studied something in that area. It was just something that we learned on the fly. And from that part, I think at some point when you do something for 15 years, it's you want to do something else. And we're doing service. And I think doing service is hard because at some point, you do service for others and you want to create your own product, right? So we're always full of side projects, that and this. And at some point, how it came is we created a tool for ourselves, the backend tool, because it helped us to be faster when delivering those backends. And we thought that if it served us, maybe it can serve others. So we open source that tool. So open source is the fact that you just share publicly the tool and that everyone can see the code, can contribute to the code, can put modifications and even fork it to adapt to their own needs. And I think this is a great thing to see the community, because they like the tool, they will talk about it, sometimes in bad, sometimes in good, and it creates quickly, a validation for the market and the people using it.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. I think it's a pretty standard story of working for other people, wanting to work for yourself, seeing a tool. I don't love the term dog fooding it, but setting up something, creating something for yourself that you actually need, and then seeing if people use it, right? It's like win-win. If you're using it and it saves you time, you've already won. And if other people start adopting it, even better. One thing that I wanted to go back a teeny bit on is that you said you had no real formal training. You were doing primarily WordPress backend websites, and you sound like you had a very, very good business going for quite some time. What was your differentiator at that point? Why would someone come to you over another WordPress developer?
I think it's really different how for companies that do service and companies that deliver products, because, and especially products. When I say product, I always think product at scale, right? You have to serve a lot of customers, right? And on the service side, the human is very important. So, and this is, I think, our persons, to Sebastian, my co-founder, and me, for the way we interact with the people, the way we were, I think our vision and our, I think, honesty in the work we put got, by word of mouth, and then got us, many customers that sticked around. And I don't think you can do that easily with the product, because there is, the human behind the product is less important than the human behind the service. And with the service company, we did not sell it after that because people wanted us, not the company. So the logo had no meaning, right? It was us as people. If you're not there, I don't want to, I don't want someone else. So I think this is the downside of being as humans more important than your product. And I think as a service company, it's hard to go away from that.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think I learned that product service, kind of the conundrum, right? It's like you have a really great product, which is ultimately you, and you can't really scale it. So earlier on in my life, I was a photographer, and I mean, I still am. I've always been, but it's not something you'd scale. People wanted me, the photographer, there. And I learned sort of the hard way that I wasn't going to be able to scale that business. And I saw an opportunity in the early 2010s to create photo booth experiences. And I did that because I was throwing events myself, and we needed a way to get data capture so that we could sell tickets to future events and build those feedback loops. And I was like, wait a second, I have a product here. And at that same time, people were paying less and less for photography because everyone had iPhones. And ironically, I was like fighting to get paid as a human showing up. And people were willing to pay 4 or 5 times the amount for me to send an iPad on a stick to an event because it was the new cool thing and we could scale it. So that was sort of like my backstory in having that eureka moment. But so just to kind of tie it up, you were working as a dev, you created a product internally that solved a lot of things for you and your team.
Yeah.
And what was that product? Because it wasn't Manifest. It was a developer tool or like...
Yes, developer tool for the backend. And actually the name was Manifest just because we didn't change the logo and so on.
Yeah.
We're like lazy. So we kept the logo and domain name and so on. So it was called also Manifest. We still have it. It's still available on the open source. And it was a backend that was actually, it's actually very similar to Story because when you are creating those applications, I'm speaking especially in internal tools, there was something that everyone wanted the same. So it's always a login, you go to a dashboard, you see some charts, you have different lists of entities in the sidebar, you can create one, you can delete one, you can observe one. And this was always the same, right? So the way we created that was something that could be, extendable, but that, in a couple of lines, maybe more, like maybe 20, 30 lines of code, you are able to deploy your backend, and it has, everything, from authentication with like credential passwords and so on, the database, the endpoint, the full admin panel, that was like even mobile friendly and so on. And then you create your application on top of that. But this was more like the dashboard, admin panel, control plane part of it. So This is the part that, I think when you're in a market for a long time, when you do something for a long time, you start to realize, some tricks that you can do first to, to save some money. And then it's exactly the same story as yours. And then to say, hey, maybe this can be a product on its own, right? Because there's, that pain exists for people and they're spending a lot of time to build the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think like I was at a conversation last night about AI in the creative world, and I unfortunately don't remember the person's name who said it. I wish I could give them credit for it, but they were really talking about how sort of ideas are external, and the kind of moment of creativity is when you see the idea and you know how to act on it. And I think for me, that was like, oh, wow, my problem was I needed email addresses because I needed to sell tickets. And then I was like, oh, I can just connect these two things. People want these things together. And in your situation, ironically, like I remember this time last year, and it's so crazy to think this was only this time last year, when I was trying to use Lovable and Replit and Base 44, one of the things that was the hardest to do was get that login experience correct, right? Which is kind of crazy that they didn't have something like you were talking about baked in. But also something it sounds like you are aware of is knowing the moment creatively when you have to make that pivot. And I think what I've been really watching is sort of, you have OpenAI, you got Gemini, you got Anthropic, and people have spent the last 2 years building on top of those products. And then you've just seen them like kind of like watching and being like, oh, that idea has legs. Let's just fold it in. right? Like, I don't know when we would have gotten agent versus chat if OpenClaw hadn't happened so rapidly earlier this year, right? Like, would Claude Cowork have existed right away? I don't know. I don't think so. It's
Not
my
that fast. Not that fast to be, and not in that shape. Yeah. And actually I think like the ideas, they exist, they do exist in the air, right? So everyone is thinking of the same thing at the same time, because it just kind of, the ideas, I think, I mean, this is my opinion, they just live in the air, right? And the more you're into some specific stuff, the more ideas you have that are, blocked just around you, and other people don't have, right? Because you have to be somewhere doing something, very carefully, like, and analyzing things to have ideas or visions that you will be like one of the only persons that have those, right? So I think for that is very interesting to, to dig into things and to go and to find, problems that you may be like one of the only persons that can detect those problems and deduct, a solution for that.
Yeah, totally. 100%. I agree with that. I have a really good friend who in the early aughts started one of the first essentially online marketing agencies called Barbarian Group. And in his book, he recounts this sort of story of, all these ideas are sort of in the zeitgeist, right? And it was this conversation he and his co-founder, I haven't read the book in a while, so I'm sort of just, I'm going to get through it, but I may be misquoting. But his co-founder of the agency, essentially, and these two guys are like very yin yang. So Rick is like, it's hard to describe him. He's one of those guys who somehow has 30 hours in his day compared to everybody else's 24. But anyhow, I would have thought him to be the one with this sort of idea, because his co-founder was a little bit more like overpowering in this way. And the co-founder said that he loves it when he has an idea. And once again, I'm paraphrasing. He loved it when he had an idea and he didn't get to it yet, and someone else made it, because that meant he could just make something else, and that the idea was still going to come to fruition. And I've always tried to sort of wrap my head around that. And there's so much stuff that goes into it, because there's the ego around no, that was my idea. Then there's I get to make something else because it exists. They're going to do it different, maybe better, not as well. And the same thing can exist multiple times in different ways. There are different ways to do the thing that you were talking about. And a lot of those got just swallowed by the fact that the tool itself was good enough to make a login easy, right? Or the Superbase, connection got easy enough. Because this has all moved so fast, give me a timeline. When did you go from being the agency to the product to the startup to...
So the agency was in 2011, something like that. We started with the backend maybe 2025. We went to California on October, and we switched to the gateway product, the one that we have right now. We launched it in March, and we came back. Yeah, we launched it in March, and we came back to France a month ago, something like that.
Crazy. So if at any point you want to do a screen share and show anything, please don't hesitate. And this may be a good time to do that, but we haven't actually talked about what your product does, and I don't want to... Well, actually, you know what? I will try and say what it does, and then you can nuance it.
Okay.
And so for me, what I loved about it was I was burning through tokens like crazy. And A, it was annoying how much money I was spending, but B, what was really annoying is I'd go to sleep and I'd wake up in the morning and things hadn't finished because I'd run out of tokens somewhere. Yeah. And so for me initially, I thought this was super cool. I could just essentially have that fallback of putting a bunch of my different subscriptions in here. And if my primary one ran out, the next one would go, and then the next one would go. And then you also released the product that allowed you to choose which models are being called for which services. And I thought that was really cool. And also it's open source. And there's something about open source that really excites me around the community. And it feels I'm a lot older than I look. I was around for the first part of the internet. When I went to college, we had email and we used it exclusively to tell you if school was canceled. So you check your email every day just in hopes that you could go do drugs instead of go to class. And so, but in the early internet, I was a weird kid and I had weird hobbies. I was really into magic and I wanted to be a mime when I grew up. And I was able to find community online that didn't exist in the small town that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that again with the open source stuff is same way I connected to you and your co-founder. You see a project you really like and follow someone on Twitter, and then you start chatting, and then all of a sudden you're on a podcast together. So let's back up a little bit. Describe your product. If you want to do a screen share and poke through anything and show some of the features, maybe it's easier visually, please do so. And then I know a little bit about the roadmap of where you're hoping to go, but I don't want to spoiler alert. So feel free to share that as well.
Yeah, so basically Manifest is a gateway where you can connect different subscriptions that you are using. You have a lot here, and usage-based keys. So as you say, so Manifest is kind of an open source open router. Open router is like the main gateway in that area. And the differentiation we have is that we allow to plug your subscriptions. If you're already paying for, like ChatGPT Pro or other subscriptions, you can use that with any different tools you want. And I'm saying that there's obviously a disclaimer here. You have to respect the terms of service of the subscription you have. And one good example is Anthropic that came very strong against using their subscription with what they call third-party harnesses. Harnesses being like the tool of the UI or the agent that is actually consuming that AI. So if you use Anthropic, I think right now they're changing, right? They're putting like everyone who's using like a Cloud Max plan has like, I think $200 of usage for third-party tools. But for now, I think they did not launch that yet. So Anthropic, for example, they oblige you to use, their tools like Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and so on. So if you use the subscription. And the thing is, I think like subscription is a very like handy way of doing. First of all, because it's a flat rate, and I think that the spikiness of AI inference cost is something that is really paying for a lot of users, especially users on the B2C consumer side, because it can really cost like $300 for a day if you just give a workflow somehow, and it's very hard to predict. So subscriptions, they're flat rate, so you know what you're paying, and most of the subscriptions are cheaper than the equivalent in usage-based pricing, which is like API keys per token pricing. So those two ways of consuming AI are the two ways we have here in the sidebar. And for different API keys that you can add here, you can also add your different subscriptions and connect your agents, your harnesses. So we have like we started with OpenFlow and Hermes. That was our first harnesses that we are accepting. And now we have also Nanobot, Craft Agents, and others. And we work also with a lot of people that use SDKs, so applications that use AI or workflows. And we have also people using coding assistants like Open Code, for example. And what Manifest does is basically letting you connect all your subscriptions, all your per-token providers to all your different tools. So maybe you have one ChatGPT Pro subscription and you can connect it to two different agents, maybe to another tool that was not made for that connection. So you can, maximize your subscriptions and your consumption. And I think right now we are seeing it's a very interesting moment in time because we started with, the tools were officially labeled, like OpenAI tool, like Codex, and then you have like the official tools where creating most of the traffic. But we're seeing a lot of well-crafted independent tools, maybe some of them open source, like for example, Open Code, which is a coding assistant that's really like, you can compare to Claude Code in different ways, and many people prefer it from Claude Code. So we are seeing many more tools, and we think it's very interesting important that people can connect it to what they want. And I think it's that openness is also I think related to the open source ecosystem into our project being open source. It's also of the fact that I think you talked about community. I think this is something great. I think the fact that you can set up, that you can configure, the different tools, the different stacks that you have the way you want to, is something very, deep in the open source roots and thinking. So I think in that way, Manifest is part of that.
Yeah, and I think that's all super great. I think in terms of also, can you show the folks sort of the different ways you route as well? Because I think that that's really interesting as well. And if you want to kind of give a sort of like elevator pitch explanation on why you would use one model over another model, either, the cost versus the output, etc.
Yeah. So we have different models, we have different providers, we had different ways of paying them, so subscription and usage based. We also have, and users have, the choice to choose which model they're going to call for, one particular task or another. And this is, I think, a hard choice because obviously the better models, the more intelligent models, they cost a lot. And when I say a lot, it's like, easily like 20, 30 times more expensive than the cheaper ones. And then you have other things that could lead, to one choice or another. And we have that. We started as a rule-based routing where you have like different rules that analyze the queries in real time to put that into different tiers, right? Simple, standard, complex, and reasoning. So you can have, a cheap model for simple queries, and when the query gets complex, you can use, all the opus and the bigger model. And then we went to task-specific tiers, which is the same, but detecting, if that task is about something, for example, like creating an image or something like that, we're going to use different models for that. So you can, as a user, categorize your routing and saying, I want to use that model for this particular task because I just want something very cheap. It's not very interesting. And this is the case for that application. It's called Fireplace. It's actually a real application. It's like a to-do list, right? For me and my wife for the groceries, right? So you put the groceries and you say, I want milk, and then it categorizes, the groceries into the different tiers. So we know when you're in the supermarket, where to go, right? So this is something very, cheap. We don't need that much stuff, right? It's GPT-5.4 Nano, which is a very I think GPT has like Nano and Mini, and then the expensive one, the normal one. And so it's a very cheap model. And then we have other tiers where we can put, more expensive models because the other function needs more, I will say, complexity in the reasoning. So with that, you can put at your fallbacks, and the fallbacks is something very handful because if the provider is not working, we switch the fallback, so you can stack up to 5 or 6 fallbacks. So if one is not, fails for some reason, we go to the second one and so on. And this is very interesting when working on subscriptions because one of the big downsides of subscriptions versus per token pricing is subscriptions, they tend to, right, have a very low rate limit, which means that you're limited to maybe, 10 calls per, hour. Some of them are maybe 100 calls per hour, something like that. So a call, when you exceed that threshold, will fail and would say, hey, come back in, half an hour, come back in a day because you exceeded your time. So this is the downside, right? Because you're paying your tokens cheaper. You also have those rate limits, so you cannot use that excessively. So you want to have a fallback for that case. And the good thing is with Manifest, if you have several subscriptions, maybe you're already paying those for your, personal life chatting and so on. You can just stack them on top of the others to use them. And maybe if the rate limit is exceeded in all of them, you can add at the end of the tree, an API key where you're going to pay per token. So this is the fallback mechanism. We recently added something for, the power user, which is the capacity of, using different model parameters for different tiers. So maybe you can have the same model. For example, the DeepSeek models, they have that syncing mode that you can enable or disable. So we have a lot of users that use, syncing mode only for the complex queries, and they use they turn it off for the simple ones, because it really changes on the price of the requests and also on the latency. So syncing mode is, as you can imagine, like takes longer to come with a solution. You also have limits, because especially for people that pay with their own money, and sometimes if you're experimenting but you don't want to, spend hundreds of dollars, you can create rules. So, after, maybe, $50 per day, it's just going to block every request after that. And I think that's more or less everything. We have a playground where we can, compare different models, compare the outputs, and I think that's about it. You have one more thing. Yeah, you have two versions. You have the cloud version, which is the version we recommend for most of the users, because you can just create your account in seconds and start working on. But we also have the self-hosted version, as every open source project should have. So you can install Manifest in your own server, in your own machine, if you want to have maximum privacy and control on what we do.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's all wonderful. And I think, is there any difference between the cloud and the open source?
Yeah, I forgot. The local version, the self-hosted version, allows you to work with local models. So that's something that we cannot do with the cloud, obviously, because it's on our servers. But there is many people, tinkering around with, Oyama and Studio and everything that you can run AI models locally. So they're getting better and better. Obviously, you need still pretty strong hardware. I don't know if you tried it, but you can get more and more stuff done with less, hardware. So the local version, the self-hosted version, can be used for local models. And I think it's a nice mix, because you can use, those local models for queries that are not too demanding. And when it gets, a bit harder, you switch to, those cloud providers that have a capacity that's way, bigger than what you have on your laptop,
Yeah, and my hunch is that that's the direction we're all going, is that we are going to have some pretty decent local models that will do most of our stuff on, and you can kick it up to the cloud for the more expensive stuff later. One other thing that I think is really neat is just the ability to see all the data as it's come through. I don't realize when I'm sitting there playing with Claude Code or working in any of these places, just how many requests and letters and numbers are going back and forth, and what the dollar amounts would be if I was paying. So I think that's a really cool visual too, just to see the amount of interaction you've had with an LLM.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So what we like to do is to tell what will be the price of that request if you were paying it per token for that particular model. So this is incredible, because you can see that most of the subscriptions, most of our users are actually paying way more, than the price of the subscription. So I think Sam Altman said that the $20 of ChatGPT Pro cost them $200 of tokens for the average user. And this depends, but actually there is also some downside to subscriptions, is that you cannot have, the zero data retention, for example. So it's obviously like if it's cheaper, they have to, get some profit somehow. So they use that data to train more. And if you use token, they're I think most of the providers, they're not storing. I mean, on the terms of service, they say that they're not storing your data for later trainings. So
yeah. So some questions for you. Just out of curiosity, what's your go-to? Are you a Hermes, OpenClaw? I think Sebastian said someone on your team loves Craft, which I downloaded and I haven't played with yet. What's your go-to?
Yeah, my go-to for agents is Hermes, for autonomous agent. Started with OpenClaw because it was the first one that bring us to that level. I think Hermes is doing a great job. Somehow, I still think we're not yet at the point where everything is very smooth for the average person. I've been developing for decades, so I take the time Hermes is still on the terminal. I think they're launching right now a desktop application. Haven't tried yet, but I think Hermes is a very good agent, and I think I'm stick with that. Yeah.
I was playing with OpenClaw at first, and then every time I did something, but I'd break it, and then I moved over to Hermes, and it's been mostly smooth sailing. But I do think we're still in a world where I definitely have my Claude Code in my terminal or cursor going in and fixing things for me. It's not a straight line yet. I consider myself pretty advanced, and I'm still so far from having any idea of what I'm doing. But I do know, how to set up your tool, and I have the understanding of what the different models are known for. Who is your actual user? Like, where are you finding these people? How many people, if you feel comfortable saying, are using your product? And like, what has been something that's been really surprising to you, either on the user side or the adoption that you didn't expect?
So we have, for the numbers, I think on our cloud, we have like 7,000 users. And on the self-hosted versions, we have a basic telemetry to understand who is using us, giving us, I think more or less like the number of messages they send. So we have like, I think 500 that we know of active in the last 24 hours. So 500 self-hosted installations that we know of that they didn't opt out for telemetry, that are sending something at least every 24 hours. So probably more that are not using that every day. What we can see, I think we're at the first, place to see the trends, right? When DeepSeek comes, we have all of our traffic sometimes that goes from one model to another. And this is something that really surprised us, is that most of the people, they do not stick to a model, right? So, and I think the providers, they do not have that stickiness. Maybe they want to achieve that with the tools, but we see a lot of people moving from one model to another because that model is going, especially like Chinese models right now, is doing the same job as the other, but for 3 times less, 4 times less. And you see many people switching for that. And other thing that we saw a lot is how people use their subscriptions. And that's why we recently changed, I don't know if you see some of them, the UI changed a bit to focus more about, hey, how am I using my different subscriptions, right? So, and we came up with, a detailed page of how you're using each subscription to see how you are consuming that particular subscription. One interesting usage that we found out is how much people used subscriptions, and that's why we recently adapted, I don't know if you saw that, maybe the UI to focus more on the subscriptions to see for each individual subscription. So now you can see how much you are using it and how much token you used for that subscription, within, the past days or months. So people can understand if they consume that a lot or not. I think it's very interesting to work with that. The challenge that we have with those kind of pricing is it's constantly changing. and rate limits are, very sometimes obscure. And it's hard to put in place, several rules to help people, But I think for now it's hard for us to serve more because there's too much change on the pricing, the conditions, terms of service. So we try to leave the user, Anthropic still here. You still can use it. For most people, it will just fail if it detects that it's not an official Anthropic tool that you're using. But we still have it here. So we'll leave the freedom for our users to use our product how they want.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I've noted from my side is, and I think it's a sign of a good product / how good these models have got, is I can't tell which model I'm using when I'm interacting with my Hermes or my paperclip. I have no idea, right? And then when I go in here, and I'm just looking at my numbers now, I just want to make sure I don't have anything I can't show here. But, it's really interesting to see quite simply like where my usage is going, right? It's like in this here, we have a lot of Minimax. Some days we have a bunch of OpenAI and some ZAI, and this is it's some Open Code Go. And I think that this is based on A, what I'm requesting, B, what I'm running out of, probably more than anything else. And then on my, let's see, yeah, like this I've routed, routing here, based on, all the different task specific options, right?
Wow.
Which is crazy, right? I don't know, like I'm in here kind of like shooting from the hip, right? I'm like, I got Perplexity in my column, my sidebar being like, read the screen and tell me which model is best for each of these things. And one thing that I had said to Sebastian is I was like, I would love it if part of this is you sort of tell us which models we should be using, because I hadn't come in here for probably a week or two. And then in prep for chatting with you, I was like, oh, wow, these models are so outdated. Like I have access to new things now. And I changed all of them. And I spent a half hour kind of like under the hood, like rewiring everything. And I think it would be super neat if you just knew what I was subscribed to and you guys kept these up to date. Plus, also, you guys work with a ton of free models too. So it's like, if I could be using free models at a point, but if I don't have to keep coming in and rewiring everything, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, yes, it's cool. We also have another GitHub repo, which is free LLM, awesome free LLM APIs, which is like, I don't know if you saw this repository. It's like, we have it on the website too. It's like a repository where we have all the list of the permanent free LLM APIs. So, which is not free trials and so on. Obviously, most of them, they have a very, low rate limit. So you're blocked after a few requests in a row. But this is a different thing, because I think the problem here is everyone has different expectations. So
right.
It's hard to say, what's the best for you. It's not the best for another person. And even those free models, I think also there's like privacy involved, right? Because, you don't want to say, I want to send that message no matter what, because some, those free LM APIs, they have, obviously if you're not paying, you're the product, right? So there's probably, we haven't gone deep into the terms of service of each of those, but more or less what they do is when the free traffics, they use that for, training and they usually keep the data. So maybe you're willing to accept that, but another one is not willing, or maybe some requests can contain, some personal identification, data. So for now, it's more or less a tool that we let our users set up. We may come with different, things to help doing that, but it's also a big challenge because models they're changing every day, so what is the best for, trading or image generation or text generation today is not the same tomorrow. And this is so hard for us to keep track of everything.
That's actually one thing that's interesting. So the one and only bug, I don't know if it's bug, the one and only hurdle that I've run into with Manifest, and to only have one is pretty impressive since I've been using it for months, is that viewing images and creating images. When my Hermes agent, so I don't remember how I ended up doing it, but I think I'm going just straight to Gemini for my Hermes agent rather than through Manifest for viewing. And I don't remember if I ended up wiring it. So for my day job, we do a ton of image generation. We have our own stack and we also use all of the models. So I have my whole everything we've looked at here is like Nick Rhodes, not Outsnapped or Pictra, right? And so for those setups, we have very specific channels that we use and different providers and APIs and blah, blah, blah. But is there a way to do viewing through Manifest?
We're working on that. So the multimodal features are requested by a lot of users, and we're still working on it because it's actually hard for us because we have to adapt to all the different providers and all the different formats they accept. So for now, we prefer leave that aside rather than, shipping a product that's half-baked and only work for some providers. So yeah, you can leave that with, using the Gemini, Nano Banana and other, models directly. I'm not sure if we're gonna implement that shortly or not. We're still thinking of that, but it's actually, it's fun that you say that because it's actually our number one feature requests that we.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like when you use an open source tool, especially, you bump into things all the time, right? Because they're being built as you're using them. And that's the one thing. And I tried to set up a custom routing and I couldn't get it to work properly. And I don't know is it even possible, or are you saying no at this point?
Not yet, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. No, I think I haven't tested for most of the providers, but no, we're not working on it right now. And this is something that we have, and I think it joined the previous conversation that we have a Hermes agent that's checking every day or several times per day all the feature requests that we have, all the bug requests that we have, all the questions that we have on our Discord. And that's telling us, in a very nice report where our focus should be on, right? So
that's your product right there. Someone needs to monetize that product.
Yeah, and that's a product actually. Yeah, I think especially now for open source, creators, open source builders, there's so many low level, low quality contributions that it takes awful lot of time for us to remove the spam, because before it was some effort for the the spammer to create some issue, to create a pull request. But right now with those agents, we have some pull requests for adding different I don't know, it's just like spamming, it's just advertisements, it's just like insignificant stuff because it's related to a product that they are communicating for. So yeah, and at the end of the day, they use agents to create those contributions. And we use agents to turn them off. So, I mean, it's a bit sad because we're all burning electricity, right, for no reason. But we have no choice today.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. Like I said, I'm more advanced than most people, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. Like I love Paperclip. I've been using Paperclip, and one of the things that I like so much about open source is you maybe can tell from talking to me, my brain doesn't work like everybody else's. It's like sort of like pinball, and I can just modify the software to do what I want. And I didn't even notice I was putting pull requests into Paperclip. Claude Code was just like, oh, sure, we'll file that. I had no idea. So it's cool to see some of those things actually come to fruition, and some of them, you get outvoted. And I think it's really neat. So, as we're wrapping up, I am curious. You mentioned a few things in there. So one hack I think I saw somewhere. Is it possible to use two of the same subscriptions currently through through Manifest?
Yes.
Gotcha. Cool. I'll just leave that alone. But people should hear that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it was actually requested by many users.
I'm sure, and I can understand why. Currently, there's no monetization. You're collecting a fair amount of data, which I'm sure is really, really interesting. Where do you see this going? What are the next few months look like for you? You know, how are you? Yeah, go for it. Open-ended.
Yeah. So we have three potential candidates for monetization that we want to explore. The first one will be to have what we call on-premise version, which is more for enterprise to have more like, it's kind of a service that you install Manifest and you set them up, you know, with maybe like enterprise features that they care about. This is one. Second one is we are thinking about, you know, having our own subscription, because we kind of know everything about the subscriptions, but it's hard to compete with, you know, like heavily subsidized subscriptions like OpenAI, for example. So those subscription is like, so for the price the user pay, they get a really huge amount of tokens. So it's hard to come because OpenAI right now, as of today, doesn't care about, you know, that profitability of those subscriptions. Yeah. How long will it stick? I don't know. But for now, I think it's a very good bargain to use those, right? As much as we can. And subscription was some idea. And right now we're exploring currently a third service that we can add is to self-heal automatically the errors. So there's a lot of errors. I think that the real number is 5% of all LLM calls in production are an error, which is a very high number, which is means like for 5% of the time, it's like WordPress that doesn't work, you know, an application that breaks. And most of the errors are kind of dumb. I don't want to say dumb because it's not like the persons that create that error are dumb, but it's like, it's very easy and straightforward to fix. So it's a parameter that's wrong because with one model you use like max tokens, and with the other one it's max completion tokens. And at the end of the day, you have like a lot of errors that, you know, can be fixed. And as we know, they appear on our platform, we could like sell a service where you pay kind of an insurance for, you know, your request. And when it fails because of something, we just patch it and return a successful response without your agent having the understand, you know, the information about, you know, an error that was going on. So turn an error into success. So this is a very nice, you know, experience that we're doing right now on that part.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. I'd be curious about that. Even in terms of, you know, what a lot of I see these open source companies do is you have your free self-hosted and then a little bit of money for the cloud version. And I think, you know, you'll be able to tell people roughly how much money you're saving them. And if you tithe that a little bit, I think, you know, people talk about this apocalypse and all that. I think it's really should just be like, we use HubSpot at work. That software does not cost them. It costs me $20,000 a year. I maybe cost them $20 a year to service, right? You know, the only time they talk to me is when they're trying to sell me something else. They don't respond, you know, like to support or anything. Yeah. And I think those companies are going to get a reckoning. But if you, for your service, if you save me $100 a month, $500 a month, and you charge me 10 to 15, like 7,000 users, say you lose 50% of them, and they're still paying you $10 a month, that's 35 grand per month, right? That's not bad. And it's like a really valuable service. So add some self-healing into that. Cool.
Yeah.
So I think that, like I said, the way I always do it is just like, what's my time worth and what is this actually providing me, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. So I would be happy to pay you a handful of dollars per month for this service, because it's changed my life in the sense that I can just keep working and I don't have to go in and change the models around.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, cool. So as we wrap up, I have a handful of questions I'd just like to ask. This is only our third taping, and I don't know which order it's going to come out in. We're still sort of like piloting. So we're trying to figure out our format still. And so I've been really excited about the open source stuff, as I mentioned. And I think our lightning round is like, you know, a lot of these podcasts do. I want to talk a little bit about some of the favorite projects you've seen. So I know Manifest is open source, and you made a very distinct choice for it to be open source. What are some of your like favorite other open source products or projects that you're either using or just think are really cool right now? And there's like 5,000 of them new every day. So
cool.
Yeah.
Let me think about it. So one that I use a lot is called Paseo, which is like PASEO.sh. It's like an open source agent orchestrator, right? Like Superset, which is also open source, right? Superset, and the other one is, I don't remember, Conduct or something like that. I'm using Paseo, which is very nice. It's for coding, right? So it's coding agent. So you have like your tabs, you can plug Claude Code on it. It's very good. What open source project do I like? Let me see. I mean, as a developer, so maybe my tools are different. That like the people less technical, but I use Ghosty as a terminal, which is I think an open source project too, which is very, I think, nice and the best terminal that I've seen so far. And I think the most obvious is I'm using Linux, as after 15, maybe, more than 15 years using a MacBook Pro, I switched to Linux, and I will not recommend that for anyone, especially people that like nice things, nice UI. I put the Mac OS, theme, so it looks like a Mac. But I definitely enjoy the experience right now, and I think that it's not that hard to move from Mac to Linux right now, because I think most of the applications we use are either on the browser or somewhere else. So there's not that problem of is it compatible with Linux, because you never care. Everything is on Google Chrome. So I think this is the biggest open source project actually of all time, and my biggest choice in choosing open source. Sometimes I hate it, right? Because sometimes I'm like, why did I don't have a MacBook? But most of the days I'm pretty happy with that.
Are you running most of your agents and stuff locally, or are you in cloud for them? Yes.
I have I use it on my laptop actually, but I have a huge gaming PC at my home that I'm not using because I don't have the time to play those games. And I really want, I don't have the time, but my goal is to really put those agents, on that big PC so I can, use my laptop without any, performance issues. Because when you run maybe 4 or 5 of them simultaneously, sometimes you see your mouse is starting to lag. So I try to prevent that. But for now, I'm still sticking with that. What are you doing?
I have set everything up in the cloud, and for better or worse. And once again, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I break things all the time. And I just was like, it's easier for me to just nuke a VPS than to reformat my computer. Also, my company, we have 1 million iPads, but very few actual computers at this point. So I didn't have a spare computer to just do it on. And when OpenCloud first came out, I was like, that thing's awesome, but I'm not putting it on my work computer crazy. As a result, I've hit a bunch of walls because a lot of these products were really, I think, shipped to run locally, paperclip, Hermes. However, I think that's going to change. I think that there's going to be cloud versions of all these. Those cloud versions are going to get it easier, better. There was one really cool tool I saw that I didn't end up using. I think it was called Orgo.ai, and it was a virtual computer. So you could actually use an agent on it with computer use, right? So it could take over your browser and do those things. And I just never got to actually install it.
Yeah, that's called. Mm-hmm.
Go on.
No, I was thinking when you run something in the cloud, when you run something even on other computers, it really helps, because if you're moving around, and if you have that, with your laptop, a bit like that, so you're not shutting down your agents and you try to bring that to another place. So this is the kind of things I think we are doing that right now because it's just the beginning, but soon it's easier to put that either on the VPS or on your, I don't know, Mac Mini or Mac Studio or something at
my hunch is that we're going to end up and I think Mac has done a really good job of either doing this on purpose, like in 3D chess, or very much by accident landed in the right place. They've gotten us so used to a screen as an interface for our phones and iPads. And for whatever reason, they've resisted the touch screen on the Mac for so long, though there's rumor, I think, that it's coming. I think we're going to end up with some sort of Macs in our closets and just using our phones and iPads to connect to our own local device versus in the cloud. Well, it's your own cloud, right? Versus a server farm. And that's where you're going to do like me, Nick Rhodes, will have my computer at home and then my visual interfaces, whether it's an iPhone or something that looks like a laptop, but is really just going back to the mothership.
Yeah, exactly. It already exists for, I think, the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And if you play and you're in your room and then you have your PlayStation just streaming, and making all the work.
Yeah. I had mentioned my love and hate for HubSpot, and my goal this year, and I don't know that I'll get to it, is because it is a big piece of software, but so many of these big pieces of software, every company who uses them only uses a fraction of them, right? Like they're so bloated. So my goal for myself should be to recreate HubSpot or the parts of it that I use so I can stop paying 20 grand, but I keep building other things I don't need instead. But is there a piece of software, we for Pictor, my company, just left Intercom and we're using Chatwoot, which is open source. Those guys like instantly responded to my tweet and I was like sold, and it's been a great relationship. Is there a piece of software you used to pay for other than Mac OS and Linux that you have replaced with an open source tool?
Yeah. We actually built our own version of PostHub, which is a tool for analytics. Yeah. And actually this is because we're using like the freemium version, and somehow came a $2,000 bill for, I don't know how many events we were collecting or something like that. But more of it was just like telemetry. And we decided to build our own, and we got very, very good results, because I think it's not just, it's as you say, we're not creating the whole post hub, we're creating the part that we're using. And this is the key difference. It's like you're using just a fraction of these that you can use, and you can improve the way you want to see. So if I want to see that data, so if I want to see, wow, does people have, errors using, I don't know, DeepSeek, or they have more errors using OpenAI. So I'm just like prompting, the data that I would like to see. And I don't even know if I have that data available or not, if it's something that we can get or not. And then the agent answers back and creates, visualization and so on that are very adapted to what we need. And I think this is great. And probably a lot of software can be rebuilt in a way, but I think it's always different. The relationship you have with that software is different. It's yours, so you have to maintain it. You have to make sure that it doesn't crash. It's not gonna like throw up by itself new features that you would say, hey, it's cool.
Right. Yeah, that's that time versus value, right?
Yeah.
Can we maybe expect that going open source as well, that PostHub internal tool, or is that? I said, would you consider making that internal tool?
No, because it's so adapted to us that it will not make sense for other people.
I love it. That's what I was hoping to say. Cool.
Yeah.
And is there one open source tool that you think is just so underrated right now?
Not an open source tool, but I would say everything, it is open source. Some of them, it's about the skills that you can do put to your agent. And I think about that because there is many like open source GitHub repos that list different set of skills. And it's something that you can do like even without Claude Code or something, just like copy pasting, the content, putting it on ChatGPT and putting question below. So I think everything about the skills is great, and is actually, I think you get used to that skill, you customize that skill, you adapt that skill, and then you get it's so easy because you want information and you're looking for information all over the web, which is in different formats and so on. And for example, for some skills, I just receive all the time information in the same format. And somehow my mind got, used to that. And it's really saved me effort and time to get some, information about, a stack, information about startup, information about, VCs. I have skills for, getting information for everything.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because I think at the beginning of those repos, like building up of skills, like if someone was taking the time to put it there, it was probably worth your while. And kind of like you were saying with the PRs, there's so much garbage and there's a lot of people with bad intent. So got to check them out now. Neat. Last question is, you have a free weekend, you have unlimited compute, the kids are not around, you're on your own. What are you going to build? What's that one thing that you just like, I've been wanting to kick around?
I already finished my grocery list AI powered application. So I think this is done.
That's it. You saw world pieces here, that grocery list application.
Yeah. I have the dream of building an arcade machine, like old school arcade machine at home. I have that dream for like 5 years plus doing that.
Is it go like joystick or like an adapter for
joystick stand up, and I mean it doesn't require much compute time. Not much compute, because we're basically talking about all the old games, but this is something that and I don't know. Sometimes I like to see to run different agents, to see different point of views on the same thing, to see if they catch something the others don't. I like to do that. I know it's like a lot of compute because you're running the same thing on different models, different agents, different skills, whatever. But I like to see how different minds react on the same problem.
Yeah. That's why I've always liked Perplexity as my chat solution, because it really does a fair amount of that sort of intercommunication, fact checking, and you get that result back. And then was it Karpoth who did the model council thing? That is, it's like you send it out to everyone, they come back, they have a discussion about it, and then they come to you with a verdict, but it would cost several dollars per run.
Yeah,
cool.
That's fun.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It was great speaking with you. It was also great talking to Sebastian offline last week. Where can people find you? Where can they try the product, and how can they keep in touch?
Of course. Go to manifest.build, like a building, BUILD. My French accent is not too bad. You can manage to go there. And we're also on GitHub, and the repository is MNFST, like manifest without the vowels, /manifest. So you should find us quite easily. And from here, we have in the GitHub repo, we have a Discord channel too for people who want to chat, people who have questions, feature requests, and so on. So it's a community-oriented project. So we try to be reactive on people that ask stuff, and kind of easy to join. Discord is the best.
Awesome. Sounds great. We'll share all those links as well as the open source links that you mentioned as well. So thank you so much for taking the time. Please give our regards to everyone else on the team, and we look forward to talking again in the future when you release something new.
Great. Thank you, Nicolas. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Artificially intimidating.com.